Hello and welcome to the Blue Shadow Podcast. My name is Joey,
I am Dan.
and today we're going to be talking about Marvel Snap once again. Marvel Snap, if you are not familiar, first of all, I can't believe you clicked on this video or podcast. Second of all, it is a card game that's a mobile-based card game or PC-based card game where you collect different Marvel characters that each have abilities and different deck synergies. Uh, we're not going to go exhaustively into the basics because we really do want to talk about one aspect that's coming to this game very soon in December, and that is series drops. This is where they take cards that are more difficult to obtain, Series 5 being the most difficult, worth 6,000 tokens, drop those to Series 4, which are worth 3,000 tokens, and then, can drop what's in Series 4 down to Series 3, which then is 1,000 tokens or easily attainable through things like a free card of the month or, just along the collector track for the game. So, again, if you're looking for a more comprehensive review of Snap, what it is, how series drop, like what series even are, please feel free to find a more comprehensive video on that. But we really want to spend today talking about what we think is going to happen in the upcoming series drop. What cards do we think are going to drop, and what do we think they actually are going to? I think those two things always often have a disconnect. How do you feel about past series drops, Dan?
I've only been around for one.
That's a problem because
Um,
we've both been playing this game for a very long time.
maybe, yeah, I think I've only been around for one.
One or two, regardless.
But if it was two, the first one is when I didn't have any cards to begin with, so it really didn't affect me.
Hmm.
But I think it's a good, it's time. It is necessary. Um, there is a Joey mentioned how these cards are supposed to be difficult to obtain, and I forget what the in-game currency value of a new card is,
It's a
but it
lot.
is
I feel like it's like $50 or something. If you go based on the prices they've set for
right. That
purchasing in-game
that
currency.
exactly. So they are expensive, and there are a lot. I think roughly there's 20, maybe more than 20. I'll give it a quick count for Series 5.
While you do that, I'll elaborate that they release one card a week, and then at the first week of every month there is another card, and then sometimes there's special events with different cards. So that's a minimum of 5 cards a month now being continuously added, typically to just straight up to the hardest to attain Series 5.
There's 72 Series 5 cards.
That's insane. And then the Series 4, is
It's
substantially
less.
smaller. It's a lot less. And
I
and
know,
for your
it's nutty.
reference, as you're listening to us, we're using Snap.fan ourselves. They have a very cool list where you can go through and see the cards by series. So as we're listening, feel free to, or as you're listening to us, feel free to go through and look and see, is there anything that you maybe see that we didn't? Please feel free to let us know. But with that, Dan, why don't you tell us the three cards that you think that they are going to drop from Series 5 to Series 4? Not necessarily what should, but what you think they're actually going to do.
If they are going to do it, they are going to drop Black Swan to Series 4, Kyera to Series 4, and then the last one's tough. Probably Hydra Bob, but
Yep.
that's those would be the three that I think have the most likelihood to drop.
Say those three again.
Uh, my goodness, who was it? I said Black Swan, Kyera, and Hydra Bob.
Yeah, those are
Unironically have good synergy, but
just so happens. For me, and I think the cards I'm going to read off are going to have a very similar effect, like not ability, but a similar characteristic about them. I think they'll drop Makari. I think they'll
mhm.
drop Blob, a card that is used to be very, very good, but one that they've nerfed kind of into oblivion, and they'll be like, "Oh, look, you got this good card," but it's not quite a good card. It was a good card, and then I had Hydro Bob actually too.
Yeah, so
It's a card that actually sees more play than I would expect, but it just kind of sucks
it,
compared to some other stuff.
it's a very niche card for Series 5,
Hmm.
unlike some of these other cards.
Yes, and I think something that all these cards have in common, that the common characteristic that I was mentioning, is that they're all not bad. They're all technically playable, but they're not cards that you're going to use very often.
Right.
Would you say that that's a fair assessment of all these?
They're cards that you don't build decks around them. They fit very well. For example, Makari. If I got Makari, I'd be very happy.
Hmm.
but I'm not going to go spend resources to get her.
Because we've told you how expensive these cards are. I mean, it's insane for these cards. Makari, we obviously again aren't talking about what these cards do. If you play, you know. But Makari runs out of your, I believe it's your deck or hand
Your
into
hand.
out of your hand into a location, and that's a strong ability for something like a Silver Surfer deck. But it is not at all like something that you might want to get necessarily.
Hmm.
The reason we pick these is in the past they have dropped cards that aren't necessarily desirable. And so that's
Hmm.
kind of why we're going in this direction, what they should and what they will drop. I'm going to hit you, Dan, now with what I think they should drop.
Okay,
I
let's hear
think
it.
Iron Lad, it's a good card, much like the cards that we talked about. It's not something you build around, but something that complements a lot of decks. It's been out for a very, very long time since Guardians of the season came out. Whenever Guardians of the Galaxy 3 came out, which is a long time ago.
Hmm.
Um, Another card that came out in that exact same season is High Evolutionary. I think this card has been around for a very long time. I think it's not as good as it once was, and I think it allows beginner players to make excellent use of their base cards that they already have.
Unfortunately, they're not ever going to drop High Evolutionary.
I know, but I
They,
think it should.
I agree, it should, but again, if you are listening and don't know, they have been pretty clear that they are never going to drop the big bads from Series 5.
But that's an old term. They haven't used that term in so long in any like official communications, though.
But that's always how it's been, and they've had plenty of opportunity to do it.
It's true, and they're not dropping Thanos or Galactus.
Thanos, Galactus, or better yet, Kang the Conqueror.
A truly bad card. But my last one here, again, I had Iron Lad, I had Evo, and then I had Hope Summers, who again is a very good card. Not a, it was a season pass again a long time ago, earlier this year. I
Hmm.
think card acquisition in this game is rough, and I think
Hmm.
the little snickers that Dan is giving as I'm saying these is not because he thinks I'm crazy. I think you would probably agree with me that these should probably go down. But
Yeah, Iron Lad definitely.
I think the fact that these warrant a snicker that it's so unlikely is part of the problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you got?
Um, so you actually ha took Hope Summers from me, but that's okay. I'll find a new one real
No,
quick.
no, you
But my
keep.
first one was going to be Baron Zemo.
That was even more recently a season pass, but I agree with
He's
the sentiment.
I I personally like the card. I think I'm the only person who plays him.
I don't see it very often.
I don't see it very often, but he is very fun to play. But I
He
think he should
is.
drop.
I mean, and I
Um,
think he ticks the box of not necessarily the best, but something that's still fun and playable. But it might be too new. It was a season pass card.
that the fact that it's a season pass card really is hurting them there.
Mm. What else you
The
got?
next card that I think I personally
You cut out there, Dan.
I did. What did you hear who it
You
was?
said the next card I personally.
Think should drop. Oh, well, the card that I personally think should drop next is this one might be a hot take. So hear me out. Grandmaster.
I see. I like that one, and I think that's probably as most possible out of the ones that we've talked about so far.
I don't think they're going to, but I
Especially because
think
they just buffed him, right?
uh
I think he got a
yeah,
power
they
point or
bumped it.
something.
Yeah, I think he got bumped from a 2-2 to a 2-3. But I just un again, gonna speak a little big here. I could see him fitting in as a Series 3 card.
Yeah, no, it's very basic. I think a lot of the Series 3 cards do a thing, not necessarily
Mhm.
requiring a lot of synergy with one another, and a thing that complement the earlier cards. And I think that is a great example. This is a great example of that.
Mhm.
I agree with that. I wouldn't. I don't think it's going to happen, but
I don't.
I think it of the ones we've talked about so far. I think it would probably be the most likely. Maybe
Maybe.
it's
And
older
my
too.
it is. And my final card that I think should drop is Pixie.
That's up there too.
I like Pixie. I use Pixie.
I don't use it, but it's fun.
Well, you need another card for Pixie to be very effective,
Mobius.
which we will talk about in a little bit.
Oh, spicy.
I s- we'll get there.
Okay. Pixie's a great card. Again, I think all these cards that we're not bringing up A, the newest cards, or B, the most impactful cards
No.
at this point. Maybe when they first released or something, but of the ones we talked about, who do you think is most likely
Most likely
in the should? I still stand
it,
by Grandmaster.
in the should. Oh, I think Grandmaster should,
But
but
like
I
who do
think
you think is most likely?
Hope Summers.
I, I do think that's a better card, so it would be better for the game if it dropped. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's that. So anything else to add on series 5 to 4?
I mean, I could keep going, but in the sake of time, we
It,
will progress to
moving on now to 4 to 3,
yes, and it should be a lot quicker because there, as Joey mentioned, there are a lot less cards in Series 4 for some reason.
which makes me think maybe there are going to be, and granted, I do think there's going to be more than 3. I think we should
Oh,
put
I
that out
think we're
there.
gonna see a hefty.
I think it'll be a nice shift.
I don't think many Series 4 cards are gonna drop.
Yes. I think that number it almost has to be lower to keep some sort of equity in terms of like things there.
Mhm.
Again, the card acquisition stuff is a little rough, but that's not what this is about. Do you want to hit us with the 3 that you think will 100%
That
drop?
I think will 100% drop.
Yes, and again, this is from 4 to 3.
Number one, Ghost Spider. No,
Oh,
she was just in a spotlight though, wasn't
she's
she?
been in like 17 spotlight caches.
I think Ghost Spider will drop.
Okay.
I think Dakin will drop. And I think Her are these should or will?
This is will.
And then Hercules will drop.
Hercules is an interesting choice. I almost wrote him down myself, but they just dropped him just in the last drop from 5 to 4. Do you think they would do it double like that?
Maybe not
That's the only reason that I would say no, because it's not great.
with the addition of Scream. Maybe they keep him at Series 4,
True.
but no, it doesn't Scream. He doesn't affect Scream, does he?
He moves a card away. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, he
Maybe
goes
not.
both sides. A first time another card moves here each turn. So he's not limited to one side of the board.
No. Which, I mean, is advantageous for a variety of contexts.
Yes.
I think that's an excellent list. And I have a shared one and I want to keep it because I do think it's a perfect candidate for it. But my first one I think they're going to do is Jean Grey. The only one who's been in more spotlight caches than Null or Ghost Spider is Jean Grey.
And High Evolutionary.
That too.
He's coming back up, I think.
The December spotlight caches are terrible. But in terms of the other cards around
Mhm.
the new cards seem awesome. But I think Jean Grey is a fantastic character. I love her, but I think her and Snap, even as someone who likes to play a more control based style, I think she is such not a good card.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And
When
and
she
you don't want
works,
it to
she
be too good.
works. Right.
Yeah, that is true. When she works. And you don't want her to be too good because it wouldn't be very fun to play against.
Right.
But also then why do you even design a card like that for such an
Hmm.
iconic character in my personal opinion? But
Yeah.
yeah, so Jean Grey. My second one is Spider Ham.
Mm.
I think he was really good. They've done some things to nerf him. I think there's a lot of stuff going on with like, especially like the way that the games go now with like all this Surtur stuff. if you hit my Typhoid Mary with the Spider Ham, thank you. That makes it even better.
Yeah, same. I get hit with if Infinite gets hit.
That's there's so many reasons that I think Spider Ham's weaker now than he was. And it
Hmm.
purely is based on what's going on right now. So I think he'd be a good candidate. And like you said, I think he just could kind of fit in three. And then Dokken is actually the last one I had. And I want to keep that rather than going to another one because I think he's a great candidate of a card that has a cool ability. It's fun to play, but it's
Hmm.
not necessarily the best.
No, I agree.
I tried real hard. He was in the deck the first time I hit Infinite, but I don't think that it was his. He wasn't the load bearing card in that deck.
Yeah,
He's not great in discard. He's not great in destroy either. It's like, what's happening
he's good
here?
in certain aspects of discard. If you're playing like a Gambit,
And maybe with Scorn, I haven't played, truthfully, I haven't played him with Scorn. But if he gets that little bit of extra power before you double him, maybe. But like you can't
that's too,
even
that's a
you can't
gamble.
yeah, you can't pick what Scorn gives the power to. Ugh,
Yeah,
man. So yeah, I think those are great. I think all of those really probably will.
yeah.
Maybe
At some point,
Hercules scares me a little
only.
only because they just did it.
Yeah.
Um, but that brings me to the list of shoulds.
Ooh.
And I'm going to throw this out here and I'll do mine first. First is Nebula.
Oh,
AC
spicy.
a former season pass card. A very good card. Not one that necessarily sees a lot of play these days, but it's been out long enough. There are a lot of new cards that, you know, kind of they're the best card at every cost kind of fluctuates. And it's been a while since Nebula was like the best one cost card to just automatically have in your deck all the time. And I think it would be fair to drop her. The next one is Ravona, a relatively newer card.
Ooh.
But I think that the cards that perform these functions, like Mobius, like Ravona, they they're not doing anything. They're enabling the deck, and I think those should be as accessible as they can be. And that's a hot take. That's why I think it
That
should.
that
Why
is
I
a
don't
hot
think it
take.
will.
I disagree with you on that one.
I think the enablers should be lower in cost as fast as possible, personally. But that's okay. And then the last one is one I think should, but won't, obviously, and that's Gladiator.
Oh, yeah, he
Uh,
was on mine too.
well, go ahead. Let that steamroll right into yours.
No, speak your piece.
Gladiator is a great card, but once again, with the stuff with Surtur right now, people are more likely to have higher cost or higher power cards in their deck. And if he's pulling them out, chances are they're staying there, which kind of negates the 3/8 power that he has.
Yeah, but
I think if he stays in Series 4, he might need a little buff in some capacity, maybe a
yeah,
9. But also then
310.
then how much that's an insane card though, too.
But no, if they do it 310, if they buff him, they're gonna buff him to 310.
Which I
And
think
he,
might be too much.
but then it also makes him accessible to Shang-Chi
That is true. That is true. But 310 is insane.
or 410.
Now I think we're kind of I think that's like that's possible. Anyway, who else do you have other than Gladiator? Was Gladiator what number was Gladiator for you?
They're not numbered. They're kind of just
It's a blob.
it's a concept of a blob.
Oh dear. We're
So
doing
my
that.
next card, and this one might actually be a hot take, Darkhawk.
Oh, they're never gonna do it.
He is no different than Ronan.
He's better than Ronan.
Is he though?
Yeah, you have more control with boosting Ronan or Darkhawk's power.
I just I don't
You don't like Darkhawk, do you?
I love Darkhawk. I have a couple sweet Darkhawk variants. I think the card isn't a Series 4 card. I think if Darkhawk was introduced as a Series 3, there'd be nobody saying that it's too strong.
I think maybe in its current iteration, and I do have to remember that it's not what it once was, especially at 5 cost. Maybe you're correct.
I
I will
Yeah, I just
concede that it is a weaker card today than it once was,
and that's why
which
it is in
puts it
Series 4, not Series 5 like
it,
it once
it
was.
puts it more in line with Ronin, but I still think it's substantially better than Ronin.
I think you can manipulate it both ways.
Hang on. Let me entertain the people while I look up their win rates.
Oh, well, one comment is they're most likely in the same deck.
No, they're not.
I have seen multiple people throw out Darkhawk and Ronin in the same game.
I have not personally, but
Anyway, while Joey's holding on to his nostalgia,
wow. All right. So Darkhawk, we have a da, 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 total meta share 1.2%, total cube share 1.1%, win rate on draw 55%, win rate on play 56%, which is not great, truthfully.
no, it's a mid card.
Hang on. Let me get back to this Ronin. Here we go. I was on the wrong website. I apologize. Ronin, he's seen 1.48% of the time. That surprises me still. He won one played 56.77%, won one drawn 54.47%. It's about the same.
Oh, wow. Could have told you that.
All right, that's
Because
enough
they're
sass from you.
anyway,
You're right. It
after
might be in the nostalgia.
if if I'm done being accosted by my co-host.
I'm a cost. You're the aggressor.
Anyway, my oh, I have a tie
Oh, okay.
for my last two. They're both one cost cards. Do you want to take a guess on who I think they should be?
I'm not
Mind you,
gonna
they're both
go
one
ahead.
cost cards.
Nebula's not one of them.
Nebula is not one of them.
X-23.
Nope. She's Series 5.
She is. Oh God, she needs to go down. Hang on. Let me look here. Let me look here.
Anyway, again, well,
I got it. I got it. Uh, Celine has to be, and
it was
Snowguard.
not Celine nor Snowguard.
Oh my God, you're not gonna say Zabu, are you?
No, I was gonna say Meek and Kitty Pride.
Kitty Pryde, yes. Meek has not been out long enough, I don't think. But he's also not great. He's good,
No,
but he's not great.
he's not what he once was.
I think he's better now than he once was.
He used to be what, gain two and move?
I don't think he was gained two. I don't
He was
remember, truthfully.
gain two and then just move. And then he got nerfed to,
It was a buff. They pitched it as a buff, and I think it is too.
well, they nerfed him first and they moved him to 1-0. And then it was you gain 1 point, but you get to move it wherever you want.
Hang on, hang on. I have the history here. You want me to read it to you?
Yes, please.
All right. Released on January 16th, 24. After each turn, if you discarded any cards, gain +1 power for each and move. And that's what you're talking about, your random movement here. On March 12th of 2024, they changed it to when you discard a card, this gains +1 power and can move next turn. And both of these were one cost, one power cards. On April 4th of 24, they reduced his power to 0. And on October 24th, they boosted him back up to 1/1.
Yeah. It's a
Clearly,
Series 3
they
card.
changed. It's a Series 3 card. They change things so often. I can't even keep track, if I'm being honest. Clearly,
No,
it's hard. It's hard to
it
use your
is.
resources. It's hard to decide what card you want. Anyway, you got anything else to add, Dan, on this one?
I just hope they don't drop cards I spent tokens on.
I know.
So
And
Modoc can stay. Um,
Nocturne is one that I spent tokens on.
Null can stay.
You spent tokens on Null?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He was not in the spotlight cache for a long time.
And then he was
And
like in
then,
three in a row.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It sucks because someone's gonna that's gonna happen to someone.
Very, very soon.
Yeah. What is the date on the series drop?
I thought it
Did
was
they give one?
December 3rd or December 4th.
Sure, sounds good. Close enough. So this is upcoming. If there's a card that we missed, please feel free to let us know. We want to hear who you think should drop, who you think will drop, and your thoughts on the card acquisition process and Snap overall. What do you think about that? With
Yes.
that, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. We normally talk about Star Wars, but we also try to carve out time for Marvel video games, really whatever we really want to talk about with one another. And this is kind of something on the forefront of our minds because it's coming up soon. But
Hmm.
please consider giving us a review, subscription, a like on YouTube or the podcast platform of your choice. Please consider giving us a follow on Twitter, X at Blue Shadow Pod, or on Instagram at Blue Shadow Podcast. And with that, we thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.